And welcome everyone to another episode of Stack Your Points. I'm your host, Matt Clausen, joined as always by RJ from Do You Take Cards? RJ, how are you this evening?
I am well this evening. I just got back from a stay downstate. I took a little R&R, 24 hours completely by myself. It was well earned and well needed.
Awesome. Downstate's always fun. Also, we have Tariq from the Stack Your Points Discord with us. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. My new card just came in the mail, so I am finally being able to put some spend on it. It feels weird using 5x IHG points for dining versus my 3x chase points, but subs are subs.
Just make sure that you're using your relevant dining programs as needed. You can also double stack that with IHG if you need to.
I've actually linked that card with I actually signed up for the IHG Dine and Earn, and I figured, hey, why not?
There you go. Stack your points. And last but certainly not least, we have Lani from Call Me Lani. Mr. Lani, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Man, everyone else is talking about all the new stuff they're getting. Because for y'all that don't know, I'm a tech guy. My Google Pixel Watch 3 arrived today, so say goodbye to the Pixel Watch 2. Looking very forward to it. And yes, I point stacked it. Google Store has 2 points per dollar.
Fantastic. All right. We're going to jump into some quick news here. We've got some topics and a whole bunch of questions from the Stack Your Points Discord. So let's jump into things. Our first bit of news, we're going to actually change up the day that we drop the podcast. That is going to be changing from Tuesday mornings to Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. For your morning drive time pleasure on Wednesday. This is just so that we have a little bit more time to polish things off and not drive RJ completely crazy with getting things edited as quickly as she does. And we love the work that she does and the fact that she's willing to do it. So thanks as always, RJ. Our next piece of news, we've had some some movement recently with the Hawaiian Airlines Alaska Airlines merger. Alaska announced a purchase of Hawaiian Airlines, I want to say toward the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024. There was a civil lawsuit that was filed that was recently dismissed. I believe it was under a lack of standing by those bringing the lawsuit. There has so far not been an injunction filed by the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice is allowing this process to continue. They've extended now three? It looks like three extensions. So it looks like we're getting close to the Alaska Hawaiian merger becoming official. And then once it does, that'll take some time to go through. And once the merger is official, they've mentioned that they're going to move the point systems for both airlines into one point system. I would imagine that's going to take 12 to 18 months to go through. Do you guys have any thoughts on this merger, even if Alaska or Hawaiian are not your typical airline?
I think this could be really good if, like, Amex, I know, has Hawaiian. They don't have access to Alaskan. If it sort of honors all of the agreements until the end of the term, you might, be able to use your Amex points for Alaska in the future, at least for a little while if they don't renew the partnership, and potentially longer if they do. So this could give you more bang for your buck. Not an airline I fly a whole lot because I'm not on that particular coast, but it is always interesting to see how the mergers affect standing deals and if there's language in those deals to get the company out if they don't want to stay in. So we'll have to see, but until we know how those contracts are going to be held, it may give a lot of value. It may give no extra value. It might take value away.
I think speaking on top of the Hawaiian MX to Hawaiian, I'm curious to see when that merger, if it means it's kind of like another way, since you can kind of book. We just talked about this in the last week. We're booking American Airlines flights with Alaska miles. if that's something that can be done in lieu of Avios with British Airways. And then also, I think it's good for Bilt because I can't remember if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Bilt lost Hawaiian quietly, I think.
So Hawaiian, in anticipation of the merger, suspended the ability to transfer from Bilt. It like went away right at the end of May. But Bilt does have Alaskan and likely will have the carryover program, whatever that program is called. Also, Barclays has weaseled their way into that carryover because right before this news started coming out, Barclays announced that they had extended their Hawaiian contract for 10 years. And the Hawaiian Airlines business card is probably the ugliest credit card I've ever seen.
Okay, so I guess Bilt's anticipation of that, being able to book Alaskan and Hawaiian flights. So I'm curious to see, like, once the dust is settled, everything is taken care of, how it's going to work with like Amex and Bilt in the future. Because like it seems like it'd be pretty good being able to book like Alaskan or Hawaiian flights with Amex points or Bilt points. So can't wait to see what that's going to look like in the future.
Absolutely. Lani, any thoughts there? I know this isn't an airline that really concerns you, but could be plan B, plan C.
It can always fall into plan B / plan C category. You're absolutely right. Now, just going back to your question, you're absolutely right. These aren't airlines I fly on regularly, but I know I'll say it like this, that even though they're niche airlines, like Hawaiian Airline is, well, started off Hawaiian and now it's becoming more of a government, not a government, a domestic style airline, as well as Alaskan was very niche, very similar to like an Allegiant, but has actually grown outside of that as well. Where I think this merger is actually going to be really good for business that are for those people that aren't on the major airlines, the big three, but what about the fourth or the fifth airline, like the Southwest people? Because as you know, especially with Alaskan is very domestic nowadays. They actually fly a lot of the same domestic routes as United. So I think by adding a whole new fleet of airplanes, merging these together, we might get some of those former connection flights domestically more as one way, especially if you live in some of the smaller areas that aren't metro. Like call them the suburb airports, the regional airports. Those very similar, going back to Allegiant, where you could be at a regional airport and fly to Vegas. We're going to see those types of flights, but more domestically. It might be something like Sacramento to Phoenix or something of that nature, is what I probably see. But then at the same time, let's not forget, the coup de grace. A lot of people don't really talk about, hey, we're flying to Alaska, but we will probably see more of those regional connections directly to Alaska. Hawaii's pretty self-explanatory. Everybody flies to Hawaii. It's a huge tourist spot here in the U.S. But I can only see that probably getting easier. But more importantly, going back to the business standpoint, merging together, adding extra jets to their fleet is only a good thing. Once again, competition is good for us as a consumer, especially in that once you get out of the big three, that second tier category of the next like number 4, 5, and 6, I think they're going to fall into that range. I actually think this is going to pan out pretty well. Yes, there's the Amex stuff and all that other stuff. Yes, let points transfer points and whatever. But from a business standpoint, I think this is going to be good for everybody.
We definitely hope. We did have a quick attached question to that. If the Hawaiian-Alaska merger goes through, how does this affect your value proposition for MR points? Me personally, I don't hold MR points, but I could definitely see myself sneaking in and grabbing that ugliest and Hawaiian Airlines business card, just so that I can jump into that ecosystem without having to follow Bank of America's rules. But it would be a nice way to know that I'd have points to utilize if and when I join the membership rewards crowd. So do you guys have any thoughts on membership reward redemptions or the value prop changing?
Once again, I'm going to speak for me first, and it's not really going to change too much because I don't use my MR points for flights, as most people know. I've been very vocal about that in my personal plan A strategy. But going back to my previous answer, once again, not everybody is flying international flights, especially like business class international flights a lot. Most people, especially when they listen, the community that we live in, we probably most likely we fly domestically more than fly internationally, unless you're doing it for business and you have to fly internationally for business often. But other than that, probably it's like going to see mom and dad, going to visit family, take a trip to like Barstow or Sacramento or Phoenix or something like that, where it's probably domestic. So I think this is going to bring a new level, once again, bring a new level of domestic options that are outside of, once again, the big three, where you want to take a weekend trip and you could have flown American, but now you can fly Hawaiian or Alaskan for 40% off for these. Will you get the same amount of luxury or the same amount of service? Probably not. But will you get it for less? Absolutely.
Lani, I'm sorry, when you mentioned Barstow, I immediately had the opening to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas reading in my head.
I don't know why I said Barstow, because I don't think there's the airport even in Barstow. I think I meant to say Scottsdale, Arizona, and I said Barstow, and in my head, I realized what I did. I just ran with it, and hopefully no one caught it. So thank you, Matt. Thank you for catching me.
I'm sorry, it's one of my favorite books. And, the opening of, we were somewhere outside of Barstow on the edge of the desert when things began to take hold. Anyway, we don't need to get into Hunter S. Thompson. So that'll do it for the news. We await word on this merger becoming final and what the new point system is going to look like. But getting to the point system, there's still a bunch of steps before we get there. So it's interesting to think about. It sounds like it's going to become official sooner than later, and it looks like there's no further impediment. So that's cool. But let's move over to topics, and let us start our topics this week with RJ.
So we talk a lot about Bilt on this program and in the community, right? And partly we do that because they came in and they're doing something different with rent. They are trying to at least core a different category than has before. And this led me to think about if rent became sort of normalized, if Chase has their rent card and Amex has their rent card, and what might be the next card, or if Amex puts out a card that has a new category in it, what that might look like. And the one that I really settled on, I was going to go with student loans, but I think student loans, they're more than happy to do that as a loan and they don't want to do that as credit card. I think something to do with medical expenses, either doctors, even surgeries, things like that may be an opportunity for a credit card to really push the boundaries. Medical debt and medical expenses are growing every year as our population ages. It's going to only grow more. I do think there would obviously be heavy caps on it. It would be like the 25,000 for spend on a Amex Gold card. They're not going to have it be, huge, but I do think if you could get more than 2x on a card that gets you 2x on everything on something for medical expenses, it would be huge. So I was wondering what you guys thought, what you think the next sort of Bilt for rent would be, and how you see that playing out. Tariq, I'm going to go with you first.
So thinking about it, and it kind of the thing that hit me the most was just how Wells Fargo just kind of took the Attune card and just gave it, like, in my eyes, like a lot of niche categories. Other than, like, for categories that I can think of, one that potentially could be good to get more than like 2x for me, I guess, would be like insurance. I mean, I'm sure there's a good amount of people, and car insurance rates have been going up high, and people have more than just car insurance. There's car insurance, there's auto insurance, or auto insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance, umbrella policies, all different types of insurance policies. So I think that one might be pretty cool to earn because I pay a good amount of with my insurance, and it'd be nice to earn more than like 2x that. So that would be mine.
So annoyingly, I was thinking insurance first, whether it be auto insurance or something healthcare related as well. So I know that mortgages are definitely going to be like one of the next things that Bill does, and they're looking at student loans and they're looking at healthcare, whatever healthcare means to them. Um, I don't know that there's another breakthrough category out there besides insurance and healthcare. Loans would be interesting, but taking your non-government student loans and paying them with a credit card, like unless it's a 0% card, I feel like that's going to be really hard to pull off. I know Upgrade has something with student. I feel like Upgrade has something with student loans, or if there's a card issuer that does anything with student loans right now, it's Upgrade. So I don't know what the next big thing is, but I do think insurance premiums are definitely going to become a multiplier of some sort. It already is on the farmer's insurance card through USBank. There's a farmer's insurance business card that does 3 times on insurance premiums. So maybe something like your credit card can become your FSA or HSA would be something. And then all of the issuers are going to jump into their own, are probably going to start jumping into their own buy now, pay later systems. So maybe a buy now, pay later that gets you, an additional 3 times UR points or something like that for whatever you're going to try to do buy now, pay later with through Chase, because they're ending that credit. There's a reason they're ending the ability to use your Chase cards with like Affirm and Klarna, and I forget the other big player here. It sounds like they're going to jump into this, and the easiest way to jump into this is present rewards for it. So I guess buy now, pay later would probably be like that category, but I'd rather see insurance and anything healthcare related.
I like this question a lot, RJ. One, because my next video is kind of on this particular topic. Hopefully, it'll be dropping later this week. Being that the day that we record this and the day that it drops are a couple of hours apart now. So it drops this week. But there's a couple of things that I think Bilt could do. So I'm not going to spoil my video, but I do have some opinions here. First is gas and grocery. Just can we finally have some real competition in those 2 categories alone? Now, I understand why they don't look at it, because Bilt is based out of Manhattan, and people in Manhattan, especially New York City, 5 boroughs, don't really buy groceries. They just, go to the corner and buy a slice or ham and cheese on a roll, small bag of chips, and an orange drink, taking me back home. Second home. I'm not from New York. They already got rent. And we could go into what else is due on the first of the month that normally, us common folk, we don't get extra points on unless we're incredibly strategic or we have a specific card where most people are probably only getting 1 point per dollar on their electricity, their water, their garbage, those types of things, right? Well, what if we doubled that? If you did it on the first of the month, which right now you can, but not even just double it. What if it was kind of like the travel or the dining category, where I could get 4x, 5x, 6x on utilities as long as I paid my utilities on the first of the month. And on the same side, that's a win-win for everyone. That's a 3-way win, because even the utility companies will probably lean into Bilt because they're making sure that their bills get paid on, every single month. So which would be really beneficial. But what I really think Bilt should do, especially if they want to stay on the new cusp of like being the new cart out there, especially when it comes to being unique ways to earn travel, do Bilt vacation packages. Just like on that first of the month, we're going to Cancun, and it's a flat rate, 60,000 Bilt points, and here's for a 1 bedroom, 80 for a 2 bedroom, whatever. You know what I mean? Just do Bilt vacation packages. That way it's locked in, flight not included, because everyone's flying from a different spot. But once you get there, you just rent out like a resort or something, that's a party. And a lot of people like these parties. I have a friend that went to the Bilt party in New York a couple of weeks ago. It said nothing negative about it. Said it was a great party.
I did want to mention one other category that I thought of while you all were talking, and that's childcare, because I have friends that pay $20,000 a year for childcare. And if you
Don't
could
make me
get,
cuss, but F yes.
I mean, you could get 60,000 points for childcare if you use a specific card with a 3x childcare category. So that also might be a good idea if anybody wants to take that idea. And you can have it for, $500,000. I will give you my idea. There you go.
Too bad I already recorded my video, because I would 100% put that in there. My daycare takes checks, so if I can use ACH, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Friend of the channel, Chad, who mentioned us a little bit in his most recent video, he mentioned that he used the bill card specifically for childcare as a rent day purchase. So he was probably making out pretty well with that. I know he's mentioned on lives, so that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up here. But yeah, no, that is definitely a good category. And dedicated gas card would be sweet. I don't want rotating categories, and I don't want to get like a card specifically to spend less than $500 on gas. Not throwing shade at any particular issuer with that one. So yeah, let's go to Mr. Lani and your topic, sir.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Matt. I went back and forth on my topic this week. So everyone's walking into this one blind, because I kind of just changed it as I was like late to the recording today. Anyway, I was watching another video. I was listening to questions in the Discord, across the many Discords that I am a participant of. And one of the questions that constantly comes up, and then I saw another, like I said earlier today, I saw another video talking about beginner strategies and what people need to do. And like, here's the 5 things you need to do. Here are the things, like, here's the card you need to get first, and here's the card you need to get second. And I'm not going to lie, I hate that. I am never going to be the one to be like, you have to get this card, or this is what I recommend, and you're stupid if you don't do that, or whatever, or you're not playing the game right. And that's because every single person is different. Just as like I had said before in that last answer, it's like, I can't just say, we're going to go here and then everything's included, including your flight, because everybody's coming from a different area. So flights are always going to be a different price. But my question is there a universal strategy for beginners, or a universal card for beginners, with all the opinions out there? Of course, if you ask, like, if I'm just getting started, what card should I get? You're going to get a different answer from every single person that you ask. So is there a universal card for the beginner? Is there, or a universal strategy like, oh yeah, Chase trifecta, Amex trifecta, anything like that? I'm going to start with Tariq this time and see where your mind is at on there. And it's okay to say no. My answer is no.
So I think when it comes to, I guess, beginners, I mean, beginners to just credit cards in general, I think there's a universally accepted starter card in the Discover It, mostly because Discover will pretty much approve anybody with a pulse and some semblance of income, unless you're a student. I mean, other than that, I've seen like the Capital One Platinum thrown out there, whether it be the regular or the secured. So in that sense of just like new to credit cards, building credit, yes. Now, beginner strategy in regards to like points ecosystems, and not necessarily, mostly because, yeah, it's easy for people to say, oh, just go chase trifecta. You'll get 100,000 points at the bare minimum, and you only have a $95 annual fee, which, I mean, cool. But if you don't use Chase's partners and other than booking through the portal, it's kind of like useless. I mean, Amex, not really like a beginner strategy because you're forking over a few $100s a year in annual fees. And if you can't stomach that, I wouldn't recommend that either. I mean, there's City, but again, it's all about the partners and who you choose to fly or travel with. So it's the definition of like your mileage may vary because what works for one person doesn't work for the next person. So no, I don't think there's a beginner strategy. So that's where I stand on that.
Okay, that's 2 no's out of 4. RJ?
So, no, with a caveat. I don't think that there is a universal strategy. I agree in that way, because everybody's got a different income, everybody's starting from a different point, everybody has different partners that they may use. Some people might not even know what a partner or transferring points is if they're really beginners, right? Like, you could be 35 and never had a credit card before, so all of this is as new as if you were 18 and, just starting out and wanting to get a card in that place. So I don't think there is. I do think there are some templates that can help you. And I know this is going to shock people, but I think if you're a true beginner to credit cards, a template that is really going to help you learn credit cards is actually going cash back at first. Because in my estimation, points tend to be something that require a lot more thought than cashback, right? Like, yes, you have to know that some give you the actual cashback versus a statement credit, but if you're brand new, it's not going to matter that much. But if you get a cashback card, you start learning about paying your statement balance. You start learning about, oh, I spent $700. I thought I spent $300. I need to start tracking my spending versus just going off my debit card and checking my balance, right? A cashback card is going to allow you to learn all of that. And you don't have to pick an ecosystem. You don't have to necessarily do anything more than pick an issuer that's not Credit One who's going to rip your face off, right? Like, as long as you're picking a solid issuer and it's a decent cashback card, you're okay. So I think those blueprints of, if you're a true beginner, sticking with cashback for a year and giving yourself space to learn how to actually use a credit card is a strategy that I think is a template you can take. If you really want to get into points, I think it becomes infinitely more complicated because you have to care about partners. You have to care. I like that caring, and I have said, that's why I'm team travel in terms of points, because that makes my brain happy, and I do all of this ultimately to make my brain happy. But if you want to learn cards, if you want to learn how things work, starting with cashback, I think is a universally okay system, right? Like, it's not going to give you the highest of highs, but it's also not going to give you the lowest of lows. So I think a universally okay strategy, in my opinion, is start with a solid cashback card, go from there. But overall, do I think there's a single universal strategy? No.
Only because of your answer and how you justified it. I want to say yes with a caveat on your answer, because everyone can start off with cashback. Universally, everyone could. We'll come back to that. I'm not going to change your answer for you. The Matt, where do you stand on this particular question?
So I'm going to piggyback off of what RJ said, but I'm going to answer it as there is a universal strategy. There is a universal card. That is learning how credit cards work first and foremost. It doesn't matter if it's a cashback card. It doesn't matter if it is a secure credit card from either Discover or Capital One or whoever. As long as you're avoiding Luxury Card and Credit One and First Premier Bank, as long as you're avoiding all of those banks, the habit of using your credit card, knowing when your statement balance, when your statement date is, when your statement closes, what you're going to have to pay on the next due date, on that first due date, and establishing the habit of paying your credit card off, whether it is in an introductory 0% phase where you don't have to pay the full balance until that last statement bill, until that last statement of the introductory period, or you're paying everything off from jump. There is no card that doesn't work for. So it can be a secure credit card, it can be a cash back card, it can be a travel card. The universal card is whatever your first card is. Doesn't matter where it is. Just again, avoid the luxury cards, avoid First Premier Bank, avoid Credit One as much as possible. It can be Chase, it can be Wells Fargo, it can be your local credit union, it can be Discover, it can be whoever. But learning how your credit card works, how credit works, and becoming responsible with that first card so that you can open up those opportunities for you to learn cash back and to learn travel and to then get into the very deep weeds of points and miles. Once you have that system down, it makes learning everything else easier, because the second you're spending 35% interest because you forgot to pay or you're stuck with a late payment, you're going to fall behind. So I do think there's a universal strategy at the beginning that is learn how credit cards work. And as for a universal card, that card can literally be whatever card fits you best.
Okay. I like that answer. And when you mix it with RJ's answer, I like it a lot too. So I'm going to go ahead and give RJ and I a 0.25 and do this ended up being 2.5 versus 1.5. Sorry, Tariq, you and I are in the 1.5.
It's whose line isn't anyway rules. The points are made up and it doesn't matter. Let's go over to you. We'll do my topic because I realized in the pre-show that it was a little bit, it's a badly worded and it's probably more convoluted just based on the community. But my topic started off as USBank and Wells Fargo understand credits. Everyone else is annoying. And I kind of brought this up as a breakdown of simplicity versus credits becoming a chore. And USBank with the Altitude Reserve has a $325 dining and travel credit. Once you make a dining or travel purchase on the card, it deducts from the credit. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to activate anything. You don't have to worry about anything monthly. It is all you can eat or all you can fly until $325. The Wells Fargo Autograph Journey has a $50 airline credit, and it doesn't matter how that airline credit is applied. You don't have to go through a portal. You don't have to go through anything special. It is buy ticket, get $50 off. It is purchase lounge pass to United Airways, get $50 back. So they're really simple credits that are easy to use. And this may be more due to the community as a whole and a follow-up from last week's talk about minimizing, where you've got a mindset that takes hold where you are trying to spend as close to the $10 credit so that you're getting something effectively for free, even though you already paid the annual fee that you're getting credited back. So this may be more of a community versus self thing, but yeah, it started off as USBank and Wells get it and nobody else does. But the more I think about it, I think it's just the community as a whole just is trying to win where there's not necessarily a win available to them, if that makes any sort of sense. Lani, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was actually just writing down everything you're saying to make sure I don't miss anything in my answer here. But I totally agree that I'd like easy to use, just magically come off of your bill auto-magically is what I usually like to say in that term. So not just the cards you just mentioned, of course, the Chase Sapphire Reserve has it as well when it comes to travel, where, anything coded travel instantly comes off. Awesome. You don't have to think about it. It's kind of like set it and forget it. Even if you don't remember to get it, it just comes off. Now, the only issue I have with that is, of course, I've mentioned this before, is that Chase is stealing 900 points away from me with that credit because you don't get any points until that credit is all used up. If I didn't have that credit at all, I would actually make 900 points off of that $300 anyway. So I'm losing 900 points every year because my annual fee and that $300 credit on my CSR. But am I mad about it? No, because it's so easy to use. I might not accidentally, but I might take a lift, boom, it's gone. Easy peasy. Tap and pay on a subway or train in New York, Chicago, something like that, boom, it's gone. Now, I mentioned this, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, where we were talking about credits and the business sense behind them. And I understand why credits are there, but credits are meant to facilitate the need versus I gave you a $10 credit, you're only supposed to get $10. Like going out and doing the gymnastics, trying to spend exactly $10 or exactly $15. I just used my DoorDash. I did the DoorDash thing on my CSR where I'm like, there's absolutely no way I'm about to order something for $10 through like Dashmart or something like that. It's absolutely not going to happen. Now, it was also late at night. My wife said she wanted ice cream. I'm already over $10 before I get to delivery fee and tip and all. I'm already over $10. It's not going to happen. It's there. The credits themselves are there for convenience for whatever product or service they're made for. So a DoorDash credit is there for DoorDash. DoorDash is meant to keep you at home and have someone else go buy your groceries or your food or pick up your food for you and deliver it to you. Remember, I'm probably showing some age here. Remember when you used to like buy a pizza and pay for delivery to get it like 30 minutes or less? Like we are all probably old enough for that. Now it's like, it used to be second nature. It's like free delivery. You don't hear like Domino's or Papa John's talk about free delivery anymore. Now, I'll even go as far to say, thinking of Pizza Hut right now, Pizza Hut used to be a sit-down restaurant, y'all. Like you actually used to be like, you got in the car with the family and you drove to Pizza Hut and you sat down in the restaurant. Find me the Pizza Hut sit-down restaurant. The point that I'm making here is that this stuff has changed. These credits are not there to be like a gift card. They're there to take away from an expense that you're already going to be willing to pay anyway. And if you need to go out of your way to spend exactly what the credit is, then you're using it wrong. It's there to save, to be a incentive for using a product or service. It's there to push you to DoorDash or push you to use Uber, not to say, I need to get a ride to the airport. I'm going to like walk halfway there and then grab an Uber so I can spend exactly $10 for the rest of the walk there. That's not what it's there for. Once again, it's not there to be like, oh man, I really want a Shake Shack burger. I won't like Grubhub it. I'll go to like Nathan's Hot Dogs instead and use my credit and go pick it up. When I really wanted a burger, then I didn't use the credit right because I went out of my way. I didn't get what I wanted. Just buy the burger. And just to touch on what Matt said in the previous video, I don't know how many videos it was, but use it as a tip, pay it forward. Just give it to the person going out of their way to pick it up for you and then drive across town to bring it to you. So if it's $10, that one time, because I know y'all be changing that 15% down to like $4, $3, $2 on that tip. That one time, just give somebody a $10 tip and call it a day. Feel good about yourself. You did something nice for somebody. That's where I feel about credit. Now, the cars that you mentioned, I promise all that was in context to get to your question, Matt. The cars that you mentioned, 100%. I would prefer if credits were simple and easy to use in this manner. Just automatically come off on my statement if they fall into a particular category. I would absolutely love that. Now, unfortunately, I don't use those particular cards, so it's not going to fall in. I'm not going to be one of those people. But as for the business structure of those particular credits, that's what I would prefer. And the only thing I've seen come close to it outside of that in the CSR would be the new Dunkin' Donuts credit on the Amex, where literally I can add it to a gift card. But start doing it now, folks, because I swear I already see it coming. They're going to nerf it. They're going to be like, nobody's going to Dunkin' Donuts. They're just adding them to a Dunkin' Donuts gift card, and they're going to cancel it. I already see it coming because I know that's what we're all doing.
Sidestep it. Go to Baskin Robbins. The $7 credit applies to Baskin Robbins. Also, Lani, $10 ice cream. Y'all need stewards to fly ice cream out to you on the West Coast.
Hold on. Let me make it clear. It was Breyer's organic vanilla. It was $7.99 for the quart. It's not like a pint, it's a quart. So it was $7.99 plus, well, I get the delivery fee at least discounted. It was under $15, so I still had to pay $2.99. And then yes, I tip the people that keep me from having to turn on the car and drive out of the garage. So they're gonna get, that's another $4 or $5. I won't tip less than, like, depending on the cost of it and the time of day. Normally it's about 20%, but if it's in the middle of the night, it's like 9 p.m. I don't mind doubling that to $4, $5 for whatever. I was already going to pay it anyway. I know people are going to come at me like, babe, you probably paid like $15 for a quart of ice cream. Yeah, I did. And you know what? My wife was happy. So I was happy. So it was worth it. Now at me. Come at me, bro.
So much Stewart's for $15.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking I could get like at least 4 half gallons for $15 and real good half gallon. Anyway, before we fall too far down,
if it were during the day, I would have literally rode my bike to the grocery store. But after the sun goes down, I'm already kicked the shoes off. I'm in like an L position on the couch. Nah, that's worth the extra $6 for me, which is what the credit is there for.
Last comment on ice cream. I'm just screaming internally in Texan because y'all don't have Bluebell.
Oh,
And
Bluebell's not good. We have Bluebell.
RJ, we talked about this before the show. That will offend me. That will offend
No,
me. Don't
you
even
said
dare.
barbecue, sir. I am
No,
talking
that
about
is
your
another
ice cream.
thing. I said that there's very few things that will offend me. Barbecue and insulting on Bluebell is another one. There's also HEB Creamy Creations, but I digress.
Well, I'm gonna have to offend you because I think Bluebell is gross. That's not my go-to. I'd go to Baskin Robbins before I go to Bluebell if I'm down there in Texas. Yep. You want me to say it again? Should I speak directly into the microphone?
Outside of Stewart's and Ben & Jerry's, non-New York or Vermont ice creams I enjoy would be Jenny's and Tillamook. So what do I know? Also Graders. Graders is fantastic. Basically any ice cream from Ohio makes me happy. RJ, did you have any thoughts on this?
So I think most credits aren't actually hard to use. They're hard to game. And I think for our community, that's a bigger sin than hard to use. Because everybody wants to game it. And then once one person figures out how to game it, that becomes the standard in the community. And once it becomes the standard for you to do the credit this way, when somebody joins the community and they just use the credit like a normal human being, they're seen as weird. And I think we're trying too hard, guys. I think I'm going to look at you strange if you pull up 17 Resi credits on different gift cards to pay for dinner if we go out to dinner. I'm going to look at you strange, and I know why you did that. Like, just use the credit. It's not that hard. But yeah, like, do I wish they all just automatically came off? Do I wish they were as easy as the Dunkin'? Yeah, but honestly, it's really not that hard. It's not. I can't get delivery 95% of the time I look it up. So I order a burrito from Moe's and I go and pick it up while I'm out to town. Yes, I live in upstate New York. My Mexican food options, or Mexican food options with quotation marks around it, are not that deep, Tariq. I'm sorry. I don't live near the border. I live near the Canadian border where we get delicious poutine. Okay, like my options are not that deep. So I will go to Moe's and I will get the burrito that makes me happy that the spiciest thing in there is the black pepper. Like, leave me alone, man. Don't disrespect my culture like that. Anyway, do I wish the credits were as easy as the Dunkin' credit or the automatic credits? Yes. Are they? No. Is it that big of a deal? Also no. Like I think we're all just trying to game things a little too hard, that we're making them harder to use by trying to make them like this game. It's like I don't want to buy an airline ticket to cancel the airline ticket to get a credit to do like no. Just choose the credits. I believe I did an entire rant on this last week. Just use the credits or don't. It's okay. You've already paid the annual fee. Like it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Can we just touch on one more time that pizza delivery used to be free, and now if you want it, you got to go through DoorDash and pay for delivery?
I do not want to pay for delivery for pizza, but yeah, no, we have come full circle on that one. Also, I think we're just going to institute a weekly feature called RJ Rants. Let's head over to Tariq. Tariq, did you have any thoughts on this one?
I second RJ Rants, by the way.
I third it. It's a thing now. But also, I genuinely feel bad for RJ because she doesn't know what a good burrito is. And that's probably why she rants a lot, because she needs that experience.
Again, black pepper is spicy. Do you want to give me a habanero?
I didn't say you had to get a habanero. I
She
just said
also
you
lives
need
closer
flavor.
to Canada than she does to Mexico. So
Hey, she's got like 100,000 million Amex points. She can burn one to a flight to Texas. Anyway, um, in regarding to gaming or breaking the system in regards to credits, I've seen it a lot, not only just with credits, but also just with strategies. I mean, we've seen, just to name one or a couple cards, Yada and Curve. So, and the problem is once it gets too good and people want to share, it breaks. And once they get too many people on it, these banks or card issues are going to see that they're losing a bunch of money on there, and they're going to scale back, or they're going to just end it, because banks aren't in the business of losing money. So, yeah, let's just stop trying to break it and then just enjoy the credits as a discount. In regards to the cards listed, I think, in my humble opinion, USBank Altitude Reserve is the best with that credit, with the 325 dining and travel credit, especially if you use mobile wallet at a restaurant, especially the ones that have like those little tablet kiosk pay things. Those are great. And I am a fan of usable easy credits. Like I wish, like even though I don't have the card, I don't know if I'll ever plan on getting the gold card, but if the Amex Gold's $10 dining credit was similar to, I think it's the Bonvoy Brilliance dining credit, where you can just go to a restaurant, boom, there's your monthly credit. I think that's just a lot. I think that's just a lot easier and a lot better for you. I think it'd be more, people would be more tempted to use it instead of having to just go to Grubhub and get the $10 burrito, which in RJ's case would be a Moe's burrito. So, yeah, that's what I can think about that. Yeah, make credits easy and usable, and then just stop trying to game the credits and just enjoy the credits for what they are. Because eventually, once the credits get broken again, you're going to get more credits, or they're going to become more difficult to game, and then they're just there.
Quick question: is Qdoba still a thing?
Ooh, they used to make the best nachos. For
I
fast
think
food franchise nachos, those used to be the bomb.
I've never had Qdoba. I think there's only one that I know of, and it's like at a military base. and I don't have access to that base. I have to go with my parents, so I don't know what I'm missing because I guess I never had it.
Anyway,
There was one in my hometown, but it got replaced with a Starbucks.
as things do. Tariq, your topic.
So my topic, funny enough, actually kind of piggybacks on Lani's topic in regards to strategy. And it's something that I've seen, whether it be from like articles talking about what's the best card for this category or for that. And I'm seeing like a lot of comparisons for like an MR point earning card that's 4x, like the gold for dining versus it's better than the 3x card for on Chase, or the 2x on Hyatt is better than the 3x or the 5x on the IHG because of the cent per point. And it had me thinking, cent per point valuations aside, does it really make sense to actually compare those like cards, like card categories for like different issuers? Because in my eyes, I just see it as like comparing apples to oranges sometimes. Because just because on paper 4 is greater than 3, if you're not using MR points, like in my use case, I'm not flying Delta, I'm flying United, or I'm not staying at Hilton, I'm staying at Hyatt. So 4x points, even though yes, 4 is more than 3, it's not useful to me in that sense. So I'm just curious to see, like, does it make sense to still compare it when talking about like an absolute? And I kind of want to start off with RJ on this one.
So in large part, no, I don't actually think it's that useful. I think when you're talking to a person, if I tell you, okay, I'm in Chase and Amex ecosystem, then yeah, I think you can, start, okay, the green card versus the CSP, for example. Like, I think you can have those conversations at that point, and you can compare cards if I tell you what ecosystems I'm in. Or if I say I'm not in any ecosystem and I'm, wanting to get my first cards, and then you can ask questions about how I travel and we can go from there. But I think we want, as a community, we want to have these general conversations, especially as content creators, because we want the most amount of people to watch, or we want to be in Discords and have the most broad conversation. But the problem is, like, if you give me a city card that has, 100 times points for everything, that's going to do me no good. Like, that will not help me at all. Like, I will take 4 MR points over 100 city points per dollar for everything, simply because unless I'm going to cash them out, which I'm not going to do, right? Like, maybe for 100 times I would, but like, my point is, there's not a good way for me to use city points naturally, which means that I have to do something weird to get the value out of it. Which for most people, especially if you're newer in the credit card game, that's not going to be an option. That's not going to be something you're going to want to do. You're going to want to use the points to get the value. So I think you really have to ask the person some more questions than just, why do you have, the gold card versus the Saver One? The Saver One card doesn't have an annual fee. It's better. Well, not if I can't use Capital One points naturally, or not if I don't have a way to use those effectively, right? So I think we, as content creators, and I'm, somebody who tries to beat this drum, we need to ask more questions about the person, and we need to be very clear about our preconceptions going into the conversation.
Yeah, that's very true. And I mean, that's kind of the reason why, despite the City Strata premiere, I think, yeah, I was going to call it the premiere. The City Strata premiere now has, in honestly, like just black and white, just points, like valuing all points at like 1 cent per point is the best, arguably one of the best earning cards out there. But if we're just trying to use transfer points for thank you points, City is like nothing for me right now. City, the way I see it, is just a cashback ecosystem for me for that reason. Lani, you were partially inspiration for it because I always think of your one of your famous sayings of pick your partners. So I want to hear what your take on this is.
Absolutely. Yes, I am a huge fan of pick your partners first before you jump into anything. We don't need to get into it tonight, but um, I'm not necessarily going to say no, but I will say if it works for you, then it works for you. And I think that's the most important aspect of it all. There's no need to compare one ecosystem to another or what someone else gets out of an ecosystem to yourself, because we've established this. We are all different. Even the four of us are in four different parts of the country right now. So even just to say we're all going to fly to Montana, don't know why we would, but we're all going to have four different travel experiences, probably on at least 2, 3, or 4 different airlines, those types of things. We're going to have 4 different types of redemption values. We might actually pay for it 4 different ways. If it works for you, then it works for you. Now, what I will say is, and I've said this in a previous video of mine, is your points should have a purpose and an exit strategy. So however you're spending your money and earning your points, you should know what you want to do with them. Even if you don't have something planned, you should know how you're going to use them when you're looking to book something or plan something. If you're a cashback person, you're planning on cashing them out, cool. That's an exit strategy. If you're saving up for a specific vacation, cool. That's an exit strategy. But you should have a purpose to it. And then also know how you're going to use them when it's time to use them. Now, real life example here. I hate to say multiple ways to skin the cat because RJ has a cat and I'm also a cat. I don't mind cats. I don't have a cat. My cat finally passed away after like 27, 28 years. My cat was alive forever, man. It was crazy. Like when she died, I wasn't even surprised. I'm like, yo, about time. Like, but anyway, because as you had mentioned, like with cent per point, I've already said cent per point doesn't really matter. Now, I'm not saying that you should just like take whatever redemption you can get, but I'm saying that cent per point should not be higher than team take the trip. Like find that experience, go do it. If it's 1.3, who cares? Just go. If it's even at 1 cent per point, technically you're probably still higher than that because you probably earn more of those points at 2x, 3x, 5x anyway. So you're not actually, getting them at that 1 cent per point if you actually did the math correctly. So for example, real life example, going back to what RJ had just said, when I actually have to pay for like the taxes on a flight. So let's say I'm actually using my United Award miles and I have to pay my $5, $10, whatever, the taxes for myself or my family. I could use my MX Platinum card and get 5X, but I don't because I don't value my MX points as much as I value my Chase points. So I use my CSR, if anything, at 3 points per dollar. And once again, I'm probably going to get KMAT for that. But I've said Amex is my plan B strategy. I know the exit strategy for my Chase points. I got it down pat. I've built my whole travel strategy around it. And at the same time, going back to my last statement about the math, am I really getting it 3 points per dollar? Because if I use it in the Chase travel portal, I'm getting the 1.5. So I'm actually at 4.5 versus just the 5. And I know I can use that 4.5 way easier than I can use my UR points way easier than I can use my MX points. So does it really matter, the ecosystem? Yes and no. Yes, pick the right ecosystem. That goes back to pick your partners because the ecosystem could be one of your partners in your strategy, of course, not just the airline or the hotel partner. But should you be comparing my strategy to yours? RJ's to Matt's? Absolutely not, because everyone's going to have something that works for them. So make whatever works for you. Make sure your points have a purpose and an exit strategy.
Love it. Matt, do you think Wells Fargo points are worth more than Chase points or MR points?
No, I think I can cash out Wells Fargo points at 1 cent per point. I can cash out Chase points at 1 cent per point. There are ways I can cash out MR points for more than 1 cent per point. So that valuation of things doesn't necessarily take up a ton of my thinking on it. For me, does it really make sense to compare cards? I think it does make sense to compare cards, just in the sense of, when you look at cards across ecosystems, well, this is working for this issuer. Why can't my issue, when you're thinking about your strategy, and there's like an area where you're not maximizing, I think that's where the comparison for cards comes in. That's where, I'm sitting here with Chase, and I'm going, and I look at the USBank Cash Plus card, and I go, that card is a perfect representation of what the Freedom Flex should be, to me, in my opinion. And I look at it and I go, USBank can make this work, where they're letting you pick 2 categories for $2,000 in spend, and giving you 5% back on those 2 categories every quarter. Like, they're giving you the freedom to make those choices, and then you get to pick a 2% category, amongst a much smaller pool. So if it's working for them, why can't it necessarily work for my issuer? I think card comparisons, come across, I don't want to say it's envy. I think it's a question of, like, this would make the spending that I do in those categories in my preferred ecosystem that much better. The biggest complaints I see every time I put out a Wells Fargo video, and I've become Mr. Wells Fargo on the internet, my little corner here, is like, Wells Fargo doesn't have a grocery category. Yeah, but they've got almost everything else at 2 to 4 and 5%. Like, give them a little bit of credit. Whereas, it's like, oh, well, Chase gives you 5% for a year. Yeah, and after that year, you're stuck with a card that had 5% on groceries and told you it was for a year. And then the year is up and you don't know what your next card is going to be to assist with groceries. Whereas a permanent grocery category for Chase would go a long way to making those who love Chase even happier, right? Or, maybe Bilt strikes up partnerships for Neighborhood Wallet, and making a 2% grocery category on that you can stack with 1.5% on your Chase Freedom Unlimited. Sorry, I was going down a point stacking rabbit hole. I think comparing cards and looking at cards and questioning why your issuer of choice or issuers of choice don't offer cards is valid. I don't think you need to uproot your entire strategy just to go into an ecosystem that you don't necessarily like, just to get a category that you love. Like, I love the USBank Altitude Reserve for mobile wallet. I do not see myself going through the process of real-time rewards, even though it looks fantastically simple to use, for just domestic travel. So it wouldn't make sense for me to go and apply for that card. I might, but it wouldn't make sense for me to go and apply for that card just for that category. I would much rather that category come to Wells Fargo or Chase and make the denizens at Wells Fargo and Chase even happier than they may already be. And Wells Fargo folks would just be even more happy if Wells Fargo would just add more transfer partners. There, I had to say it. But I think I don't think that cent per point valuations really come across, just because, like, oh, well, in my travel portal I get this much more. Okay, cool, that's your travel portal. What happens when you're not using your travel portal? Oh, well, it comes out at 1 cent per point. Okay, which can be respectable, especially given higher multipliers. So again, like that, as Lani said, it may be 1 cent per point, but you got 5 points to cash out at 5 cents. So I don't know that cent per point valuations are necessarily necessary to consider. I do think that looking at cards in other ecosystems and questioning why your ecosystem can't match it, especially an ecosystem that just happens to be the largest bank with assets under management in the country and the world, is perfectly valid to ask why they can't add a gas or grocery category at even 3% or more than 2%, like on the Chase Think Cash. Not to single out a particular bank, but yeah.
I think
Or
there's a difference. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, or why can't American Express add mobile wallet?
But I think there's a difference between philosophical conversations and practical conversations. Like, I think that's
Sure.
what we're all getting to, right? Like, I think in a practical conversation way, comparing cards probably isn't that useful. But in a philosophical way, like, Matt, you are the king of putting out these like philosophical videos that, like, yeah, why can't Chase have something better than online grocery? Or why can't Amex have online wallet? Like, there are a lot of those philosophical debates that I think have a ton of value, but I think that we mask philosophical debates into practical conversations and then everything falls apart. And that's the problem I think the community has is those are separate conversations. Why can't Amex do this? Why can't Chase do this? Why doesn't Wells Fargo do this? Is different than, hey, I want a new credit card. This is what I have already. What are my options? Oh, you should totally get this card that has nothing to do with your current setup and you can't get value out of. Those are different conversations, and we as a community need to stop making them a single conversation.
No, that's completely fair. Um, I the only time where I would like go outside of your preferred ecosystem is just like, is getting that value for that category that important to you that you're willing to live with it? And then I would probably pick a card that would still just be cash back and at least like funnel that money back to the person. But I can understand how that would be impractical. Um, like as you said, you know, you being an Amex, it doesn't make sense to continually like push, oh, well, you know, for your grocery spend, if the American Express Gold Card isn't working, why don't you get the City Strider Premier? One, that's stupid. And two, City doesn't help you. But I would also look at it as, why don't you get the AAA Daily Advantage card? You can cash out the grocery there at 5%. You can move that back over to fund your Delta or hotel excursions with 5% return on your grocery spend. If you need to go outside of your preferred ecosystem for that. So I would be trying to find something complementary and not tied to it. But I can totally get how pushing an ecosystem that isn't the same that you're working within and works best for you can be an issue.
All I have to say is thanks for reminding me that my Freedom Flex will more than likely be a mediocre card next year. I'm riding high on my 5x gas and grocery, and again, you just had to burst my bubble and bring me back to earth. So thanks.
Not if you use it right.
Hey, I am still using it, but I just really like that gas and grocery category. It's been great.
Talk to Lani. Lani can supercharge the card. I just happen to think that if the Freedom Flex was the USBank, it was Chase just blatantly ripped off the USBank Cash Plus card, that they'd win even more hearts and minds. See, even Lani agrees with me.
I mean, fair. And if that means I'm just gonna have to rewatch Lonnie's Freedom Flex video 25 times, sure, I'll do it.
Do they
I'm
get
okay with
Simone
that, by the
Biles
way.
if they do it though?
Yeah. So that's a good place to kind of move on. We did have back to basics of the week. I put in types of starter cards. Those would be there are two sort of no annual fee starter cards that I think are worth discussing. There are what we call flat earners. Those would be your 2% cashback cards like the Wells Fargo Active Cash, the Citi Double Cash, anything that does straight 2%. And then there are multiple category cards. Think the Chase Freedom Flex with the rotating categories every quarter. In addition, getting 3 times dining, 3 times drugstores, and then 1x everywhere else. I don't know where the Freedom Unlimited falls because it has a flat 1.5% earning, but it has other categories associated with it. So I don't know if that is a multiple category card or a flat earner. That one's a little bit weird. But then you'd have like
Category.
okay. That's what I figured, but Folks will always go with, oh, but the Freedom Unlimited can just get you that flat 1.5%. Yeah, but it gives you so many other things. The flat earner for Chase would be the Income Limited. That's just 1.5 across the board. Wells Fargo has the Autograph card and now the Attune card. Capital One has the Saver One card. The Bilt card falls into a multiple category card. So just there are different types of starter cards, whether they're cashback or travel focused. Just know that at no annual fee, you can get cards that get you just 2% across the board. You want to shoot for 2% across the board. Some still give you 1.5%, like this card. That is the Quicksilver. Sorry. And that's trash. Shoot for 2%. Multiple category cards can help at 3% or even 4 or 5% at no annual fee. Just there are different terms attached to it. Like your 5% is on a quarterly category, and you can only spend $1,500 a quarter. Are there cards I'm missing, or is there a starter card that I have overlooked? A type of starter card that I've overlooked?
The only thing I would add is like a student card. I know that's a very generic, but it's literally a starter card.
I would say the other starter card that wasn't mentioned because it's kind of in the crappy 1.5% bucket is the Freedom Rise, especially with Chase being like the new starter card, and that one is like a straight up flat earning 1.5%. It's basically the Freedom Unlimited with no Chase portal or dining or drugstore category. And like I said, that's like the quintessential starter card since they got rid of the Freedom Student.
I would say, in my opinion, finding a flat earner that you like or the ecosystem you like or whatever is going to serve you better, because worst case scenario, you can always fall back to that versus getting something where it's 1% everything or 1 times everything. Because when you first get a credit card, you might not understand your spend the way that you will 2 or 3 months in. And if you have a 2x everything, you're going to, by the laws of average, probably end up with more points than if you get a 1x everything and then a couple of categories. So I mean, there are people who've had base cards for 15 years and never had to change because they got the right base card the first time. So
that's going to do it for Back to Basics for the week. We've got viewer questions. We've got so many viewer questions. So let's jump into these. I have no idea if we're going to answer the big question. But from KidCat37 on the Discord, they asked, besides the big 4 transferable point systems, what point ecosystem would you recommend to a person or family that only travels domestically? My short answer is get the USBank Altitude Reserve. Anyone else want to chime in on that one?
I'm going to swerve to the left on this and kind of answer in a completely different way. If you're only traveling domestically, solo, or with the family, get into the hotel ecosystems. Going back to pick your partners, find the one that works. It could be IHG, it can be Hyatt, it could be Hilton, it could be Marriott. Find one of those ecosystems because especially Marriott and Hyatt, they're everywhere. No matter where you go, Hyatt has a tier list. It could be a Hyatt Place, it could be a Hyatt Regency, it could just be a regular Hyatt. Like Hyatts are literally everywhere. And then the same with Marriotts. There's always some level of Marriott out there. So first off is pick a hotel partner, get that co-branded card, and just go ham on it, because you're never not going to find a place domestically where you won't be able to use those points or that particular credit card or get value from that particular credit card because of that. Then I would actually, if you're only staying domestic, I wouldn't even say you had to go point ecosystems. Just go get a co-branded airline card, whatever airline card works best for you and your family. The big ones, we're going to go everywhere. Even if you got to get 2 of them, you got to get a United American, American and Delta, Delta and United, whatever. You're going to be able to get everywhere you need to go. and you're going to be pretty set. Like I said, if you're staying domestically, and the other thing about that, you're going to get all the other perks depending on which card from those co-branded cards you get. Like Delta has a bunch of different cards, United has a bunch of different cards. I think American only has 2-ish, if I'm not mistaken.
Three
Matt,
personal
keep me
from
honest here.
Citi. There's the Red Aviator from Barclays, and then there's the invite only Barclays Aviator Silver. So they've got a whole little
Ooh, I was
ecosystem within their ecosystem.
I was only thinking of the Amex one. Anyway, you're right. You're right. So it's more than that. Either way, you're covered. But now you got your lounge access when you're domestic. You probably got clear global entry, even though you don't need it, but global entry includes TSA pre-check. You're going to get the free check bags. You remember from last week how important the travel day is. So yeah, get the hotel card, get a partner airline card or 2 or whatever it is that you need. And I would say go that way. Let's skip over. Like I said, I'm going to go left of the ecosystem question. This is what I would recommend if you're flying domestically, solo or with a family.
Lani stole my answer, and I was very proud that I came up with something different. And now I yield because he said everything I was going to say. So Lani got this one.
I guess I'll look at it more from like kind of the direct answer. And this might be like true like recency bias since I just got the card. I like, at least for like solo travelers, even family, especially depending on like your annual fees tolerance. I mean, the IHG is a good program, especially just earning on the card. Plus, you get their $99 annual fee premier, whether you get the personal or the business. You're going to get pretty much like the highest status you can get for a sub $100 annual fee card. And earning on the card is great. And then if you happen to have United, you get the travel bank credit and have like, I just think, in my opinion, IHG is a great ecosystem for that. And plus, no matter where you go, no matter how small the city is that you have to travel to, you will find a Holiday Inn.
There's going to be a Holiday Inn.
If you are in a city that does not have any IHG property, doesn't have a Holiday Inn or a Holiday Inn Express, I don't think you need to be there. Because Hyatt's footprint, small. Marriott, again, depending on your annual fee tolerance, can be good if you want to spend like the $650 they get us for the annual fee on their Bonvoy Brilliant. And you can find anywhere from a JW, Ritz-Carlton, all the way down to like your Fairfield Inns. But yeah, you will, and no matter where you go, you will find a Holiday Inn. And if it is not, that's probably a ghost town.
If you're in the Midwest, it's the Staybridge Suites.
Illinois HG.
Just speaking from Illinois boy, Staybridge Suites. And RJ, I'm sorry I stole your answer, but could I put my name in the hat for the title this week as the tortoise and the hare?
Yes, you can.
Man, I was really hoping for apples and oranges.
Look, I may not be a podcast host, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
And nothing wrong with it.
Hey, Holiday Inn Express, if you like continental breakfast, that is probably like the best continental breakfast that I have had ever, especially those cinnamon rolls. 10 out of 10.
This is coming from a fan of powdered eggs, y'all.
Oh, Tariq, you just killed my joke.
Anyway, Matt, it might be Holiday Inn Express, but at least it wasn't your car or the street.
Totally fair. The only reason why I just snap answered USBank Altitude Reserve was you get that quick 1.5 cent per point redemption through real-time rewards. My understanding of it is whatever your travel is can be redeemed. So hotel redeemed, flight redeemed, taxi to the hotel redeemed, Lyft redeemed, whatever rideshare, whatever codes as transport. Just seems to be the quickest and simplest. But I will not deny that getting a hotel branded card and an airline branded card just to do everything you need to do also works out pretty well. So we've got another question. This coming from Keith. Keith S. from the Discord and from various comment sections. Keith, we love you, or I'm fond of you. What is your strategies for sign-up bonuses, 524, and opening up new cards? I know that the four of you differ slightly on these issues. So, RJ, we'll start with you.
I don't care about 524 because there is not a chase card that I want. And I don't see in the foreseeable future there will be. I'm actually probably going to downgrade the CSP to some flavor. I might have to get a Freedom Unlimited, which I'm not looking forward to. Or I'm sorry, a Freedom Flex, because I don't like rotating categories, but I might have to because I want to downgrade. Because I want to keep the cards open because I don't want to necessarily close them, but I don't necessarily plan to use chase points. Anyway, so I don't care about 524. Until Amex gives me a 524 and I can no longer get my Amex, then I will start caring. As far as subs, I tend to only get cards that I actually have a long-term plan for. I currently have a business platinum, a personal platinum, a business gold, and a personal gold that will be cut down next year to one of each. It will be determined at that time which one of each is going to stay. But I tend not to churn. As I said in our Discord, I heavily whip at times, but I do not churn for butter. So yeah, so I tend to keep the cards that I open for the most part.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to start off. Well, first off, Keith, thank you for being a supporter of this particular channel and also my channel. You've always been very supportive, adding comments, watching every single video, hitting those like buttons. So thank you for that. We really do appreciate it. And it has not gone unnoticed. So thank you, Keith. But I'm going to start off with the 524. I'm not going to go with RJ and say that I don't care about it. Now, I did recently announce that I was able to beat it. I got approved above 524. I'm not going to say I beat it or I have some, secret code, the passcode that allows for it. But it is what it is. I don't know how many times Chase would allow me to do that, but I normally don't go over 524. So I'm going to skip over that part. Now, for the sign-up bonuses and the new cards, I'm actually going to answer both of those together because I was actually talking to Joe Barretto of Credit Card Connection earlier today. And we were actually talking about this exact thing where I had said, I normally pick Q1 as the time of year when I look for a brand new card. And that's because I have a lot of spend that comes up in Q1. So I'm going to say taxes. I know taxes are due on April 15th, but you can pay them before that. I usually pay them in March because of said Q1 to make sure I can put my taxes on the new card, i.e. make sure I hit those high sign-up bonuses. The registration on my car and my wife's car comes up in Q1. If we buy furniture, usually we buy that in Q1. So I know I'm going to have a lot of spend. So I spend probably my Q4 really focusing in and breaking down what cards I might be interested in, not just for myself, but also for my wife. Like, hey, you should get this one. I'm going to get this one, et cetera, et cetera. And then if it's something that I know is going to have a high spend, like an Amex Platinum or like the Amex Business Gold card, I think that, or was it the Gold or the Platinum that has like $15,000 in a short amount of time, or Ink Business Premier, which is $8,000. I know in the first quarter of the year, like if I sign up on February 1 for a brand new card and I get that 3 months, I know I'm going to hit that so much easier at that particular time. And of course, like for most professional career driven folks, that's when like fiscals are rolling over. You probably get your annual bonus and all those other things like that. So it's like I know a lot of money's coming in, so it's real easy for that money to come out. But that's primarily the way that I look at it. Anything outside of that, I'm very strategic and I wait until I know I have a large purchase coming up. So going back to that, my most recent card, my IHG Premier card, the personal one, literally out of nowhere, I saw I was going to have a high spend transaction. And so it was like, you know what? I don't want to just put this on any card. If I don't do it on the first, like with a Bilt card, or use a like Chase Unlimited card, at the Freedom Unlimited card at 1.5, I might as well get a sign up bonus, which was the flipping point for me to say, you know what, I'm going to sign up for this card and just put this one transaction on there to get these points or whatnot. But at the same time, I won't just get a card for the sake of getting a card. So even as someone that I know follows my channel, I stay at Intercontinentals, I stay at IHG properties regularly. So it already fit into my setup. So that's the only reason why I did it. And at the same time, is it a forever card? Don't know. Is it a 12-month card? 100%. I even did that mid-year as well for my Amex Platinum. So I had a couple of large spends come up and I just mid-year decided to get it. But outside of that, I usually just focus on Q1 or the first 4 months of the year for sign up and get new cards.
Absolutely. Tariq, your thoughts are?
So I'll just go ahead and state for the record, when it comes to 524, I'm pretty much on the opposite end of the spectrum as RJ. I care a lot about my 524 status, with it currently being 424, and I don't plan on opening up another personal card, especially another personal Chase card, probably until January of next year when I get down to 324. There's a lot of cards that Chase has that I will get a lot of value from, and I don't want to play any games and be denied because I don't want to try to have to beat 524. I'd rather just play the game by their rules, get the card, and let it be that. When it comes to subs, I've probably said it a few dozen times. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I've said it in Discords. My rent spend currently is my sub spend, which is the reason why I don't have the Bilt card yet. It's a lot easier for me to hit the sign-up bonuses on like the recent cards I got, Sapphire Preferred, Ink Unlimited, and now currently working on the sign-up bonus for my IHG Premier business. And a lot of it is for rent. So I take my rent for that, and then once I'm done hitting cards with subs, I'll probably just open up the Bilt card as long as Bilt isn't subject to Wells 24 rule and leave it at that. I'm like 9 times out of 10 when it comes to the cards that I get them for a long-term play. These are cards that I plan on having for a long time, with the exception of like the Sapphire Preferred. It's still like a long-term-ish card, but I will still cancel it or downgrade it after I get the bonus and open it up again for a new bonus because I can do that. Only exception is I've been considering the World of Hyatt business card. At first, it was kind of like an afterthought. I'm not going to get it, but I figured for $200 I can smash and grab 75,000 Hyatt points because I like Hyatt. It'll probably be a card that I cancel after year 2, but in the meantime, in year 2, I'll probably getting the personal or the high card anyway. So kind of pans out. So that is my strategy for that.
For me, it is strategies for welcome offers. Try to get some known spend taken care of, whether that is helping family out with certain expenses, just as long as I can hit the welcome offer in the specific time. That's why I don't target specific cards. So I don't necessarily go after big spend cards until I know that I can hit that big spend. For Chase marketing, and Chase artificial scarcity. I am currently abiding by it, but that does not mean that I am going to hold myself to it just because there's only one more personal card I'm really interested in. There aren't a ton of business cards that I'm necessarily wanting to jump into on the Chase side at the moment. So that may not be a thing I worry about going forward. So for me right now, I think I'm in a bit of a hold. So we should be I should be good there. So my strategy is make sure I can hit my welcome offer, make sure I have enough spend. If I don't have enough spend, make sure I know that I can get enough spend between myself and my family. Always utilize your family if you yourself are not necessarily going to hit the spend, and make sure that your family pays you back. So we will. That's sort of where I am there. But yeah, I'm not too worried about Chase personal cards going forward. I'm not super worried about Chase business cards. I am holding out in artificial scarcity for a new World of Hyatt card, but I don't think that's coming anytime soon. So I may just blow past it going forward. So thanks, Keith, and thank you for the support you give all of us. And our last question is coming from AP. We did have one more question, but we're going to kick that to next week. So we'll follow up on that. So from AP, now that Southwest is going assigned seating, at what point will we consider them a part of the big boys, American, United, Delta? Will we ever? And if not, why not? I'll jump in with my answer. Let's see how it goes, but they were already effectively part of the big boys as it was. They were just the kids who did something different but ran huge profits for the longest time. They were one of the most profitable airlines prior to the world shutting down unexpectedly. So I think Southwest going to assigned seating, adding new premium seating, and whatever else they're doing, let's see how it plays out. But they were already one of the big boys in terms of revenue, and I don't think it's necessarily a smart idea to write them off. I do think the cattle call was annoying, and they're responding to the number one request of customers. So if it gets more folks flying Southwest again and they're back in that big four, great. If not, there's still space for other contenders. Anyone else have any thoughts on this one?
I think that public perception is different than dollars and cents on a spreadsheet. I agree with you. Like on paper, they were very profitable. I think people see Southwest as the tier under American, Delta, and United, partly because there is no first class. There is the cattle call vibe. It feels like a budget airline. I think in terms of how people talk about them. So I will be interested. It depends on how they implement it, right? If the new business class, new first class, however you want to call it, doesn't really feel that different than what they had before, and you just have an assigned seat number, I think people are still going to think of them not being in the same league, even if on paper they're making a ton of money again. So I really think implementation here and sort of shedding their budget nature is going to be the determining factor more than anything else.
I would say that just adding the assigned seating is just playing the game. Like when you think of the big three, if you were told you're not getting an assigned seat now, take like basic economy, like the bare bones discounted one where it's like you can take a backpack onto the plane and nothing else. You got to check your carry on, take that category out. But going back to like my pizza metaphor, but this time I'm going to use a sandwich. Like I bought a sandwich. What do you mean? I gotta pay extra for bread. Like it's part of the sandwich, So I think the seat aspect is just them playing the game. Now, going back to calling them one of the big boys or big players, until you're at an international airport and have your own terminal, I don't think you're going to be a big boy. Or if you are flying international flights, and I don't even know if Southwest does. 'Cause I've never flown a Southwest flight in my entire life, but I'm not talking intercontinental like US to Mexico. That's still North America. I'm talking international flights. Like, could I fly to Peru? I don't think I can on Southwest. Could I fly from US to Paris on Southwest? I don't think you can. I'm not 100% sure, so don't at me if I'm incorrect. But even if you can, that's not the first choice for many. I've never heard anyone's like, oh, yeah, I'm about to fly to London on Southwest. Not once ever have I heard anyone say that. That's the reason why I'm bringing this up. So I think they are pushing themselves to be more of a key player and being more standardized across the board. I know they recently, changed their bag policies. Now they're going to change their seat policies. They might add extra classes. I think they're just playing the game, but I think they're a long way away from being in the same group as the big three.
So real-time follow-up, I went to the Southwest website and it looks like the Caribbean, Central America, kind of a little bit to the tip of South America, but that's about as far as they go.
Still North America and North American territories or shared territories in the Caribbean, depending on where it's at.
Yeah, Aruba and San Jose, Costa Rica look like the furthest south they go. Which is fair. Apparently Havana's on that list. Weird.
Can we fly to Cuba now?
We could very briefly, and then we were told we can't. And I don't remember if that got relifted. Check back in, what is it, August? Check back in 6 months.
Okay. Not planning on going to Cuba anyway, but okay.
Totally fair. So with that, we're going to wrap it up on that question. Spaceco did ask a very intricate question, and given the time that we record, it's probably not the best idea to go after answering that question. So we are going to kick that question in next week. So Spaceco, I'm sorry for the moment, but we will get to your question. With that, you can find us here now every Wednesday morning on the Stack Your Points podcast. If you have a YouTube channel, if you have any questions, always feel free to use the comment section of the YouTube channel for questions. You can also email questions at stackyourpoints@gmail.com if you listen to us via your podcatcher of choice. You can find us on all podcatchers. Feel free to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do the 5-star thing, whether it's on Apple or Overcast or Pocket Cast or Icecast, or I'm running out of all the other casts. Castro, that's the other one. Yeah, RJ, if folks want to find you on the internet, where's the best place for that?
You can find me at Do You Take Cards as soon as Tariq decides to launch his YouTube channel.
I was going to mention the fact that we are on week 3 of the strike, and I don't see an end anytime soon. The union is very adamant about not continuing work until Tariq joins the YouTube space. So there you go. Tariq, where can we find you on the internet since it's not YouTube?
Honestly, I didn't even think that this was like a legit thing. I thought she was just playing, but obviously she's serious, and like I feel guilty. But I don't know. We'll see how hard-headed I am. But aside from that, just the Stack Your Points Discord. Find me, say hi, and please don't try to convince me to start a YouTube channel because it'll just delay it even further.
Just try one video. That's it. One video.
You don't even have to put a video up. Just make a channel, sir. That's all I asked of you.
All right, fine. Dang.
There we go. So Treat channel coming soon, possibly. And Lani, if we wanted to find your work, where is the best place to find it?
You can find me in a United Club lounge or a Polaris lounge near you, or right here on YouTube at Call Me Lani, all one word, Lani spelled Lani. I'm
Absolutely.
trying
Lani,
trying to like be unique with where you can find me every week. I'm at 3-0 right now.
there we go. If Richard Kerr walked into that Polaris lounge, that would be very fun to watch that interaction again.
I wouldn't mind. I think he's a good guy, and I need to get him back on my channel.
There's some stuff. All right, with that, this is Stack Your Points. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week at Wednesday. Talk to you soon.